Welcome back to another episode of Mimi's Musings podcast. I'm your host, Gungo Mildred, and I'm so happy that you're here today again. I'm so grateful for you. For those who have been listening to my podcast, I'm so grateful. So, on today's episode, my musings are going to be about toxic work environments. Part 1. Back in 2014, I had left my job in 2013 and I didn't have a job. I was looking for work, and then I got a job at this company. I was going to be I'll put it in quotes, a chef, but basically a cook. And I loved working there, but it was it was nice. It was after I've been home for a while, and so at least over a year or so. And so when I got the job, I was so happy. I started working there, and I'll talk about my first experiences in another video, because that one is tied into another topic that I wanted to speak about. So my first weeks, or my first week actually, I'll talk about it some other time. But then I worked there. It was good. I loved that. Is one of the best places I've ever worked in my life. I loved working there, like so much that even when I was leaving in 2017, I left with ile shingo pande because I didn't want to leave, but the company was going under. I was too tired, and yeah, tulikuwa tumeanza kulipwa ile ati mwisho wa mwezi mnalipwa 4,000, alafu wanakaakaa tena wanakuja wanapatia ingine, then ingine. I was like, yeah, no, I can't continue working here, better leave. And so before I left, so 2014, 2015, the work environment was good. And then the company got some investors. And so they expanded it. And so during the expansion, there's this man who came. He was a supervisor. And yeah, people are funny. He's Indian. And I'm not going to be toxic about Indians or be racist towards them, but I'll say honestly to God that most of the Indians that I've interacted with in Kenya, they've been super racist, and they're in Kenya. So I have some type of feeling towards them, but I just won't go into that. So this guy comes, his name rhymes with bitch. I will not say anything else other than that. And then he comes and he starts harassing us. So he was like interviewing us to see who is going to be kept in the company and who's going to leave, with the expansion. So he tried to threaten people, making them feel like they were less than. Some people used to cry after the interviews used to conduct. I remember me nilimwangalia tu nikabaki like, I'm not going to play along. I will come into work in the morning because I'm going to be standing for 12 hours and you are going to be sitting down, kind sir. And then you want to start interacting with me, making me say hi to you, and all of this madness that he wanted us to do with him or for him. And I just didn't care for him, by the way. So I will never say hi to him unless he said hi to me first. And so one day I remember him with my then best friend, and he asked us like, why don't we say hi to him? And I just looked at him and told him I'm not a morning person, so I don't like saying hi in the morning. I don't like talking. I want to come into work, change, start my shift, and then when the day picks up, I'll be kinder to people. But I'm just not interested. And he looked at me and he didn't like it was like he couldn't believe that I'd said that to him. But that wasn't the only thing I did to him, because as he continued interviewing us, I think he interviewed us like 3 times per person or 2 times. I'm not so sure. So the first time went smoothly. The second time he was interviewing me, he sits me down. I've been working in that company for over a year by that time. And then this guy, he comes and he sits, okay, so he called me upstairs. So it was a restaurant and he was upstairs. There was a sitting area upstairs. So that's where he was conducting the interviews. And mark you, these interviews are being conducted to people who already worked in that company. Like amekuja ametupata hapo tukifanya hapo kazi, and we've been working well. Hatujakuwa na issues, hakuja kuwa ati mtu amesend sijui letter of sijui wote nitangwa nini. There hasn't been any disciplinary actions towards anybody. People have been hardworking na nini. Of course kulikuwa na vituko in the hotel industry. There were issues. But the way he was carrying on these interviews ni kama sisi ndo tunakuja sasa kutafuta kazi ya fresh, and he used to say my team, like the it team or something like that. So he called me, and then when I go upstairs, he's smoking. I look at him and I'm like, what is this guy doing? So I ask him, could you please put that off? He's like, why? I'm like, I don't like the smoke. I don't like being around smokers, so I can't stand it. It's, if you want to talk to me, put it off. He obliged, he put it off. I don't know. He used to entertain me a lot, but I used to bully him because he was bullying us. But anyway, he put it off. So we sat down and talked, and I remember he asked me, like, are you afraid that you might not get the job? And I looked at him and I was like, no. He was puzzled and he was like, why? I told him, because kazi kama ni yangu na kazi yangu si yangu. So I will not waste my time going all crazy and being worried for ati atanipea mapana. Kama unitaki, kama si kazi yangu sitapata. But kani yangu, no matter what, I will get it and I will do it to the best of my ability. So I'm not afraid of the outcome of whatever thing you are carrying out right now. He looked at me. It was like he couldn't believe it, but akasema tu okay, ni sawa. So anyway, long story short, I didn't get fired. I continued on, but I was removed because we were in Westlands at the restaurant, but I was taken to the main hub because of the expansion. They had gotten a warehouse, like a bigger place where we would do more productions, blah blah blah. So nikapelekwa Ruiru to the main hub. Me and some of my friends. So we went to Ruiru. When I went to Ruiru, I signed a new contract and I was in production, but the pastry side. So because I started baking while I was at the restaurant, so the bosses decided, yeah, it's okay. I can Ruiru and the pastry because she's good at it. She loves it. Let her go and do it. And so we went. Kufika Ruiru, we found that tumeletewa mtu mpya wa kutufundisha. There was this chef. I will not mention his name because I hate his guts. I hate his guts. Like, you remember nimesema hapo before, like the first week at that new job wasn't so good. But even that toxicity that I faced then, it wasn't as much as this one, because that's what I see ongelei sahi. Because tell me why this man just decided to be a terrible human being towards me. So tulikuwa wawili, mimi and a guy called James. So we were working under him. He was our direct supervisor, and then there was the production supervisor, John. So this man, he had come from Java. That's what he told us, that alikuwa anafanya kazi Java. He was a pastry chef, wamekuwa hivi, and then ametuletea zinaitwaje, recipes. So many recipes, and then he will teach us. This man only ever taught me how to bake a cake. Like ku mix the recipes, kuweka kwa oven, kutoa, ikul, alafu kwanza kudecorate. He used to do it most of the time by himself because he was teaching us while we were producing for the restaurant. So haikuwa ati mnafundishwa tu afu mnakaa mnakula, no. Ilikuwa mnazitengeneza, so you learn as you go, alafu zinaenda restaurant. So it came a time, I don't know what happened, because alikuwa anatufundisha tu from the beginning. He was teaching and I was okay with it. I was learning. I loved pastry so much. I even bake up to now. Like I wouldn't probably like do it for like the icing and nini for somebody that I'm selling it to. I probably would hack it. I know I could. If I put my mind to it, I would. But I wouldn't trust myself to just do it. Like mtu aniambie tu saizi nibeke na weke nini na uniuzie sijui pesa ngapi. Like vile watu wengine wanauza keki. So I wouldn't like do that. But I can bake a cake. I do bake cakes. And I can do something with it. So this guy finds me in, so okay, kulikuwa na pastry room, like the cold kitchen, and then there was the hot kitchen. Hot kitchen haikuwa tu hot kitchen peke yake, ilikuwa pia production. So they used to make juices in there and pack berries, because we were dealing with zinaitwaje, we were dealing with frozen products, so we used to package them there, we used to make the juices na nini, tunapack kwa hiyo room ingine. So he found me there talking to my former head chef mwenye alikuwa ameni interview for the job in the first place 2014, ndo nikapata kazi kwa hiyo kampuni. So we were sort of close because we had worked with him for a while, he knew me. So alipata tukicheka, and from that day, that man's attitude just changed towards me. It was during a break. Sati nilikuwa nimeacha kazi nikaenda kucheka nini in the hot kitchen, but yeah, for some reason that man just changed. So akaanza kuniambia every day, imagine naingia job, ananiambia niketi chini I type those recipes. So he will write them, like kuandika na mkono, alafu akuja nipatie nishinde nikitype. So while I'm typing at the computer hapo kwa, like it wasn't like an office, but kulikuwa na desk ya production manager hapo. So niende nikae hapo ni type kwa laptop. Na yeye huku ndani ya nini anaendelea kufundisha James. Una understand? James right now is a very good pastry chef. He didn't learn in school how to be a pastry chef. Alifundishwa from that time. But anyway, the person he learned more from is the manager, the supervisor who came next. But still, hapo ndo ilianzia. James alifundishwa, anafundishwa, wanaendelea wanabake. And then after nimeshinda nikitype hizi vitu, he expects me that when I go back to the pastry kitchen, niende, mimi ndo nikoshe vyombo. So I was like, is it because I'm a woman? Is it because, I don't know, I'm Luya and they were Kikuyus? Is it because I was talking to the other chef? Like, what? What was the issue? So, James and I tulikuwa tumeshatengeneza like a roster. Mimi nikiosha leo vyombo, wewe unaosha kesho. Ivo, 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 ivo. But this man will tell James, like, hapana, wewe umeshinda ukibake, wacha yeye ndo akaosha. And I'm like, no. Sijashinda nikitype kwa sababu nilikuwa nataka kushinda kama nimetype. Ningetaka kukuwa hapa nikibake, so I would say no. Naambia James, mimi siendi kuosha hizo vyombo. I would just say no to him. Because what is that? And James will just be like, hapana, ni duty yangu tu, wacha nioshe. Then this man akaanza kunitafutilia. So siku moja tuko pastry room, tuna bake. Mi najua tu kila kitu iko sawa. Like my mind wasn't hata kuna issue. But this man, one, alianza kuwa na issue na the production room, like the hot kitchen guys. So tuko tuna bakingia huko vitu zingine while the pastry room was still being fixed up. Akaanza kusema, oh, because mali walikuwa nafanya kazi apparently in Java. By the way, don't quote me on this. Si mimi nilikuwa nasema hizi vitu. But huko ati kulikuwa na chef wabaya saa zingine, hatunapata mtu ametoa kama anajua unafaa kubeka, ametoa bicarbonate kwa nini tini yake, mara ameka garlic, ama sijui ameka chumvi kwa mkebe ya sukari, ama like vitu tu zingine za utoto. Vitu hazifai kufanyika in the workplace because who would want to ruin something yenye una bake for people na ni ya job. Unaelewa? Like it's not for me, it's not for my personal consumption. If you ruin my recipes, if you change the tins label or whatever, then I end up putting more salt, thinking that it's bicarbonate or thinking that it's baking powder. At the end of the day, the whole production will be messed up. Na si mimi peke yangu nitakuwa kwa issue because mimi nitasema hapana, ona tin ndio hii inaonyesha imeandikwa kitu fulani. Mimi nilikuwa napima nikimwaga tu kwa unga, so si kuanza kuitaste or anything. So somehow maybe nitakuwa punished, but still I would have a reason to be like no. So nani anaweza amua tu kufanya ujinga kaa hiyo? But so akaanza kusema vitu kama hizo like the guys wametuchangia nini ati we have to taste them before we use them ni nini, and I'm like what is this? So as it continued, so mimi nilikuwa najaribu kuwatetea na wabeleka kuna pa mtu anaweza fanya kitu kama hiyo because who will be thinking of this such a thing. Kumbe he used to take offense. Then I continue talking to the people that I've been working with walikuanga mostly production. I will talk to my former head chef and he used to get mad about it. Like whenever we'll go back to pastry after break or after lunch, he will be like, what are you guys talking about? And I'm like, what does it matter? So I think in his mind, he started thinking that I'm conspiring with the hot kitchen guys or something to ruin pastry products. And in order for him to fight that, akaanza kwenda kwa HR. First, he went to that manager whose name rhymes with beach, and then he went to the HR and he reported me. So akasema mimi hakuna kazi nafanya, sijui kubake, sitaki kufunzwa, sitaki kushika anything, hakuna kitu najua. All that time that we've been in pastry, I have learned nothing. And whenever he tells me to wash the dishes, I become insubordinate and I refuse to do that as well. And so I'm like, what? What? So mimi niko pastry, tuko hapo na Jimo, we are baking or we are doing something, anakuja ananiambia unaitwa na HR. And then we go there and I'm like, the HR anikalisha chini, nasikia wewe ni kichwa ngumu sana, hautaki kufanya kazi, ukiambiwa ufanye kitu utaki, umekuwa hiyo pastry room hujaishika kitu. Ninabaki, what are you talking about? Like the shock I felt, the shock on my face that day, I was like, what are you talking about? Honestly, what are you talking about? Because mimi nimekuwa nikijifunza as much as I can. This is not the first place nimebake. I used to bake while we were in Westlands at the restaurant. Na that's why nikaekwa pastry hapa. So mbona nifikia hapa alafu I become lax, like nishindwe kufanya kazi? Why would I do that? And the HR goes like, no, your supervisor amesema, and if he has said it, then it's true, because yeye ndo atakuandikia evaluation, yeye ndo anaona kazi unafanya. So akisema haufanyi, tunachukua his word. Nikabaki no. Like, can we even ask Jimo? Because this is just mad. So tukaita James, akakuja. James alikuwa anajua kile nafanyiwa, because I used to talk to him and I would tell him, like, unaona kile anafanya ni vizuri, because mbona ananika mimi kutype kila siku as if I'm a secretary or something. Not that being a secretary is bad, but that's not the job that I was doing there. I was a pastry chef. So mbona ananitoa kwa hiyo kazi yangu ni kutype. Every day he will come and make me type something, anipatie papers and papers. Like, I have those papers nilikuwanga ameandika na mkono. I still have them up to today. Most of them actually, I still have them. Na handwriting yake vitu ndogo ndogo. But nikaongeanga na James, nikamwambia mimi si friend, akasema nye si poa. I used to talk to my friends as well. So hiyo kutoka kwa HR, Jimo akasema yeye ajui kitu kaa hiyo. Like yeye anaona tu tunafundishwa the same. But anyway, I will say it here. If he hears it, it's fine. Akinikasirikia ni sawa, but he's a coward. And that is the time that I proved that he is a coward. And I'm sorry, not sorry, but he is. Because he looked at me and he looked at the HR and that guy and he said, yeah, don't know any difference. Na akanyamaza. So mi naangalia na baki kwani mi ndio chizi. So anyway, that manager whose name rhymes with bitch, akakuja akasema, okay, in order to prove that all of you have been learning something, because we are spending so much money paying this guy to come here and teach you guys so that you can become better. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to give you a quiz. Can you imagine? You're working alafu unakuja unaambiwa ati no, leo mnaenda kufanya quiz ndo tuone, which is okay, ni sawa. But sa kile wali underestimate, what this man underestimated, that pastry chef, is that mimi ndo nimekuwa nikitype hizo recipes. So ukinipatia like an, written test, I'm going to ace it. So tukapata the first test, it was either 86 ama 88 out of 100 ama ilikuwa 90 something out of 100. But James alikuwa nyuma yangu with just a few points, because he's a good chef. By the way, I wouldn't even take that away from him. He's a good chef. So set ya nini hakujua, but alishindwa, nilimshinda tu kiasi. So that man goes and marks and marks and marks, akapata nimeshinda James. He became livid, like he was so upset about it. But sasa kupelekea that manager akasema, what, you're supposed to be getting 100, what is 80 something? I think we're 80 something ama 90 something, I'm not so sure, I don't want to lie about it. But Ivo ali shout akasema nini, but it was just him playing his ego. Like, he just used to be narcissistic, that man. So hiyo kushout ni kujionyesha tu. Probably he was just a danda in school or something. I never took him seriously anyway, so I don't care. But he yelled and yelled and yelled, and he was like, you have to get 100. The next one will come in I don't know how many days, and you have to perform better. So narudi kufanya kazi na this man who has already told me that he's toxic. But nikasema, okay, mi niko job, keep your head down. I called my grandmother. When I got home, spoke to her, told her what had happened. Akaniambia ng'ang'ana tu, vumilia nini nini, but ukiona imeshindikana, do something about it. And so I was like, okay, mimi sijaipelekwa kwa HR. That was not my first place to work. So it was just crazy. But anyway, nikang'ang'ana, nikaendelea kufanya kazi, duties zetu, kuosha vyombo ni nini, making jokes, yani just trying to be kind and polite, blah blah blah. But then kidogo kidogo tena nimerudishwa kwa HR. Na baki this time tena nimefanya nini? Same thing. I talk back. Oh, sijui, I don't learn. I'm too difficult to be taught. Oh, sijui nini, insubordination. Like it was always the same things. Mi nikabaki nauliza HR, hizi ni gani? I've never had issues. I worked with that other chef in the hot kitchen. Can you ask him if I ever had issues with him? I've worked with that one longer than I've worked with this man. So why is it the one who's always complaining and that other one never complained? But that other one, I only had one issue with him. That maybe I'll talk about it in a different episode, but never anything else. Nendo alikuanga na vituko more, by the way, but never anything else. But this one, every other week nilikuwa kwa ofisi ya HR. Insubordination, hataki kusikia, she talks back, hajifunzi, nini, exam ingine ndo hiyo. Again, nikashinda James. He became livid again. And I was like, hizi ni ujinga. So that he was like, okay. So juu akaona kile nasema my excuses hanifunzi vile anafundisha James. So akakuja akajiambia ati okay, now the next exam I'm going to be giving you ni sasa ya kubake. You bake a cake from start to finish. And you decorate it and everything. You ice it na kila kitu. I did it. My cake, my decorations weren't the best because hiyo ndo part sikuwa nimefundishwa. That's why I say like ukaniambia nikubake cake, I will bake it, cream it, but hizo ma decorations zile za juu, I can probably wing them, but they won't be the best. Ama they will be, I don't know. I haven't done that for a while, but he used to teach James that, but not me. And I don't know why. Na unajua ndo ukwe pastry chef, hizo ndo vitu zina matter. Like okay, I can make cookies, I can make muffins, I can make like regular cakes and I can ice them and nini, but kuna vitu hizo za kudecorate, za kufanya like the nitty-gritties zinafanya keki inakuwa keki and appealing to the eye kabla hata uikule. Those are the things he wasn't teaching me. So anyway, akasema tufanyie exam. We did. And I did the exam. We baked the cake, and after we did, of course, ya Jemu ilika better kuliko yangu, but mine also was okay. Ni vile tu kuandika majina hapo juu nini, it was a little bit funny, but it was still good. And that man, the manager, he tasted them both. He liked them both. Taste ni the same, juu tumefundishwa the same, recipe ni the same, so taste ilikuwa the same. New to like the appealing touch to it, ndio yangu ilikuwa lacking kiasi. But then I was like, this is what I've been talking about. This is my complaint, because this is what I'm not being taught while he is being taught. So look, tungekuwa tunafundishwa every other thing nimekuwa nikim-ace apart from this one. So isn't this what I've been talking about? Like mimi sifundishwi hizi vitu lakini anafundishwa. And so they were like, okay, sawa, we get it. I think they had words with him or something. Kwa cool kiasi. Tukaendelea kazi. By the third time I was like, nah, I'm done. Juu niliitwa hivi, nimeitwa paka mkubwa production ameitwa. So nabaki, like namuuliza, mimi umenisikia na issue na mtu mwingine. Why do I only have an issue with this one person? So sikuwa nafanya nao kazi, wengine wanasema oh, maybe he liked me and he didn't know how to tell me, so he just wanted me out of the pastry room, or I don't know, he thought he was jealous because I was closer to the other guys and I wasn't as, free with him like I was with my other chef. I don't know, ilikuwa tu vitu mingi, because for the life of me up to today sielewangi mbona huyo mwanaume alikuwa ananitreat vile alikuwa ananitreat. Why it felt like he hated me. I've never understood, and I never want to understand, because he just made me hate him. for the first time working with people, he made me hate him for real. So anyway, hiyo time mpaka nini production manager alikuwa involved. Now we were told, okay, because of that, I think we need to make a change. Okay, because it seems like he cannot work with you, and you're saying that you're tired, you don't want to go back to, because I was like, I don't want to go and work with him anymore. I'd rather leave pastry. And that was the worst mistake, because watu niliacha huko, the things they do right now, my God, like as I said, James is a pastry chef. He's working in Dubai. And there's a lady who now took my place, Elsie. She owns her own bakery shop, like yake saizi. She bakes from home, I think. But I've seen the cakes she bakes online, and they're amazing. So you can imagine what that man took from me. Hivyo tu kiujinga tu because of whatever. Alafu vile Elsie alienda, they became okay. So my thing was, is it because they're both Kikuyus, like James and Esther are both Kikuyus, and he's also Kikuyu, and that's why they were getting along, and he just didn't want me because I was Luya, because I was the only Luya then at that time kwa hiyo pastry, alafu wengine walikuwa Kikuyu. And even after Elsie, somebody else came, her name is Christine. Christine was also Kikuyu, and he worked well with them, but mimi vile nilikuwa ndo kulikuwanga na issue. And I think also, actually, I think it was tribalism, because now my other head chef, he was Luo, and the people we were working with, he was working with in the hot kitchen, like the production guys, the ones that were making the juice and the packing the berries. One of them was also Luo, and the other one was Kisi. So it's like tungeenda huko tukiongea, he would think like tunamsengenya or something. So nikaambia my production manager, like I'd rather leave pastry, wacha mtu mwingine ende huko, because I can't stand working with that man anymore. I can't stand coming to the HR's office every single week for nonsense, because I haven't done anything wrong. If anything I'm done was being wronged, but kama nitaki in pastry, I'd rather leave. And so the production manager was like, yeah, nitachukua Mili, wacha akuje tufanye naye kazi hot kitchen, it's fine. Atasaidiana na the head chef she used to work with, because they get along. Huko tutaona kama pia kutakuwa na issue huko, then ndo tutajua ndo ako na issue. Long story short, went, worked perfectly, never had, okay, I can't say never had an issue, but the issues weren't professional, like ati job yangu ni mbaya manini. It was out tunafanya nao kazi, because a Kisii man and a Luo man, when I entered production, they were like, oh, tumepata mwanamke, because they were all men in there. So I was the only female. So kuingia hivyo kwa no, tumepata mwanamke, bas watu wanatumia vitu. We had a kitchen ya staff, watu wamepikiwa chai, these men have drank tea in the kitchen huko, okay, mali wamekunyia, then they come and take their cup, their teacup, they put it in the production sink, mimi ni waoshe. So mi ningekuwa time yangu ya kuosha, I used to wash vyombo za production room, hizo vikombe zao naeka hapo kando. And then one day they asked me like, why do you do this? Mbona unafanyanga hivi? This is bad. Unafaa kuosha. No. Vyombo za kitchen zinaoshwa kitchen, za staff kitchen. Sijui mnaziletanga hapa kufanya nini? Hapa, no, I will not wash them. Na kuanzia kesho kukuwa na duty rota kwa hii room. And I'm like, duty rota ya nini? Wewe ndo mwanamke kwa hii room. I was like, don't you dare. Hapa mimi si bibi ya mtu. Hapa ni kazini. Kila mtu analipwa kufanya kazi, na kwa hiyo maneno kukuwe na duty rota. Kila mtu akuwe na siku ya kuosha floor, kila mtu akuwe na siku ya kuosha vyombo. Because everybody is being paid to clean, to make whatever we are making, to package them. Na ziende kwa restaurant ama kuuzia clients. So that ended up happening. But that is just one of the few issues I ever had with the guys. But for the most part, it was always cool. So after some time, that pastry manager was fired, supervisor was fired, and somebody else came in. And now this one, he helped akina Jimo vizuri. I wished I could go back because he trained them well. And I just felt like my career just, yenye ilikuwa imeteka a good path, it was going somewhere. I felt like it was derailed, because these guys went on, and then now they're making good things, and it's good. I'm happy for them. But that man, that man, I will forever hate him for what he did to me. But anyway, shida zikuishia hapo. In matters production, zilisha. But sasa, working in the hot kitchen meant that I was part of the people who were making the staff lunch because tulikuwa tumeseparate. So hii wiki inakuwa ni Mili ndo anapika staff lunch. The next week ni Shali anapika staff lunch. Hiyo wiki ingine ni Jemo. Hiyo wiki ingine ni Elsie. Hiyo ingine hivyo. Like every one of us, the cooks ama the chefs, tulikuwa na kila mtu wiki yake ya kupika staff kitchen. So kampuni semi-expand waka-introduce marketing, kitu hatukuwa nayo before. Okay, tulikuwa na marketing, but it was just one person. The lady who was my friend at the time. So she used to be the one doing the marketing, most of it. So yeye ndo alikuwa na deal na marketing. But sasa waka-introduce a marketing department. Wakaleta tusichana twingi na vijana kadhaa. Hao ndo wanazunguka from, tulikuwa most tuna deal na Nakumatt at the time. So hao ndo wanazunguka wakienda, going to check all these markets, all the outlets we used to sell our juices to. They go and check, and the berries and pizzas, because we used to also do frozen pizza. So they go and check them, alafu they report back. Hapo ndo issue ingine ikaanza tena na huyu HR. Same HR. So this lady called Mary. I'll use her name because that's another one that I didn't like so much. So it's my week being in the staff kitchen. Niko busy napika. So there was a rule. Kama ufanye kazi production, haufai kuingia production. Because huko kunafaa kukuwa sanitized nini, na wewe umetoka kuzurura kwa barabara huko kwote ukuje na nguo za nje nini, you can terminate the products. So they weren't being allowed. So her being from marketing, one day she comes. Mimi niko kitchen ya staff, which iko nje ya production, but ziko sort of in the same area, but iyo juu ni hot kitchen sasa, iko kando kiasi. This lady comes, ananiambia, ati, she says hi vizuri, namwambia hi. Alafu ananiambia, niende nikamtafutie mop. Like anatafuta mop, najui mali ziko, kama naeza mtafutia. I'm like, I'm cooking. Hii chakula inafaa ikuwe ready and packed because kwa tunapika chakula ya staff wenye wako huko Ruiru na staff wenye uko Westlands kwa restaurant. So I have to have packed ya hawa yenye wako Westlands iende. Kuna reda anakuja kuzibeba apeleke. So this lady coming to tell me nikamtafutie mop, and there's a cleaner. Kuna mtu kazi yake ni kuclean, mwenye anajua hizo mop maliziko. I wouldn't even know where she puts them because after cleaning she hangs them somewhere, they dry. I don't know where she puts them. So this lady comes, ati kuna maji mmwagika huko juu kwa ofisi, ebu nisaidie mop, na baki mop ya hapa ifai kuenda place ingine. Mop za production za production, ya hii kitchen. So siwezi kupatia hapa. Ati ni gani naweza tumia? Nikamwambia yenye Monica utumia. Monica iko wapi? Sijui. But she'll be here soon because she needs to help me with this lunch thing. But sijui mali yuko. Just look for her, ask her, and she'll help you. Mimi si nimejua story imeishi hapo. Msichana ameenda kwa ofisi kwa HR kucomplain vile nimekataa kumsaidia. That is one. Juu nilikuwa nahesabiwa makosa yangu. That is one. Siku nyingine tumepitana tu na asubuhi. I'm not a morning person. Like at all. I'm not a morning person. If we meet in the morning, unless we are really, really close, nontanza, oh, hi, nini. Or if I have to say hi, you can say hi and I'll say hi back. But it won't be me being the first one to talk to you. Because I'm just not a morning person. So whenever they will say hi, I will say hi back. But I was never want to say hi to them first. So that was strike number 2. They reported me that sisalimiangi watu. Napitanga tu watu ni kama siwajui. Aya, strike number 3. Also, kuna siku ingine, the same lady tena kakuja production during my week, like another week sasa. During another week. Actually, no, juu niliitwa kwanza kwa ofisi for strike number 1 and strike number 2. So hiyo ya 3 ilikuwa after my next time now being in the kitchen. So, nikaitwa kwa ofisi sasa. HR ako hapo ananiambia, Mili, umerudi tena kwa ofisi. Yaani wewe usikii, wewe yako tu ni kusumbua. Umeamua uende kusumbua hiyo mtaa, si ndio? Hakuna mtu mwingine hapa na solve kesi zake kama wewe. Nikabaki nimefanya nini this time? Production tena wamecomplain. Ati si huko. Okay, ni nani amecomplain basi? Ati hiyo kitchen yenye huko hiyo, wase wafurahi na wewe. Wase wa gani? Mimi nashindanga huko peke yangu, like when I'm hot kitchen, staff kitchen, I'm cooking. And I'm usually there by myself. Mtu akikuja ni Monica. Saa ya chai kuna mali napelekwa Monica na ananipelekea huko. Zirudi nioshe hizo vyombo wamekulia, nikipika lunch, I serve watu wakule, nioshe vyombo za lunch, then I'm done. So, huko na interact na kina nani? Kwa hizo salimiangi watu, wa mademo marketing wanasema vile unaonyesha madharau, hauongeleshangi. What do you mean? Is it written on my, job whatever? Like, nafaa kukuwa nikisalimia watu? Is that part of my work? Contract yangu imeandikwa ni lazima nisalimie watu. Because I asked him that. I was like, contract yangu imeandikwa lazima nisalimie watu. And he was like, usiongee hivyo. Vitu zingine tu ni common, kama si mambo na common sense. I'm not a morning person. Watu nimefanya nao kazi kwa hii kampuni wako bado. Since I came because now this was around 2016. Kambia tangu nikuje 2014. Nimefanya kazi na watu, they're still my friends. You've seen me nikikaa nao tukikula tukipiga story. Ushaiona wakicomplain? Ni nani ana complain? Mademo marketing na when do I even see them? They're not always here. I see them once in a week or twice a week and then they are gone. I don't interact with them. So tumeweza kurufishana auto marketing siku gani? And then I was like, na ile siku ile ambayo usaidiane mop, ukaanza kuongeleshana vibaya, ngambia nani, mimi napika. Ilikuwa niache kupika nikatafutia msichana mop. And there's a cleaner in the premises, mwenye nilimwambia tu endo tafute Monica. Monica atakuonyesha mali mop iko. Unajua as the HR, mop ya kitchen ifai kutoka ende kapanguze maofisi. And then he was like, enda. Hizi kesi zako nimechoka nazo. Nimechoka kushinda hapa. Nikamwambia no. Mimi ndo nimechoka kushinda nikileta hapa for things that do not make any sense. But anyway, I went back to the kitchen. Wiki ilifuatia, I went back to hot kitchen, the hot kitchen, the production room. And then it came my week again. It's like msana alikuwa ananitafuta. Because 10 hiyo time ingine nikiwa kitchen na amekuja amenipata mimi ndo niko, she paused. She looked at me, she was like, sasa? I was like, mzuri. And then she tells me, ati anataka maji. So they had been banned from entering the production room. But huko ndo kuna maji safi ya kunywa because it was filtered. And then they used to come na kibuyu ile 5 liters wanachotewa, then they go. Amekuja na niambia mimi niache kupika tena nikamchotee maji production. I'm like, hey, I know mruhusiwi kuingia huko. Can you just knock that door ya production? The manager is there. He's a chill guy. Mwambie tu akusaidie maji ya kunywa. Give him the kibuyu atakuchotea. She goes like, we hapana, wewe ndo unichotee. Like, have I just told you? Vitungu ziko hapa. I was making pilau that day. I will never forget. Vitungu ziko hapa. Zinaiva, like, I can't leave vitungu ziungue nikienda kuchotea maji. She got upset because she just got upset, akatoka akaenda. So mimi ni kitchen yenye niko, sijui kama ameingia production ama amerudi juu. Na kuja kuitwa. Nikaenda kwa ofisi. Mili tena, I was like, have you ever been so pissed by somebody that you're just done? Hiyo siku mimi nilikuwa nimesema naacha kazi. I remember because lunchtime ilikuwa imefika, I looked at that man and I was like, I'm done. With you, with your marketing girls, I'm done. I can't be doing this. Kwani tangu nyinyi, because this HR, we didn't have him before. He came after this, hii kampuni imeexpand. This marketing girls walikuja time hii kampuni imeexpand. Huyo mtu alikuwa ananiharass pastry room, alikuja after kampuni imeexpand. Everybody else I had been working with, they were fine with me. But hawa watu wenye wamekuja after, ndo wamekuja kunitafutia shida. Because they want me to treat them with kids gloves and sijui nini. I'm not that. They were too soft, sijui. I was so done. I remember at lunchtime after kuserve watu lunch, I went and called my grandma and I told her I'm quitting this job. Because this has become too much. I loved working in this place since I came. But now these people are making me hate my work. I can't be coming to work kila siku nasumbuliwa. And you know this HR was harassing me juu kulikuwa na staff van, but jioni siku mademu wa marketing wamekuja kwa ofisi, he would tell me and Elsie not to use the staff van because Elsie used to live in Kahawa Wendani and at the time I was living in Githurai 45. So anasema nyinyi tu mko hapa hivi kwa barabara, hakuna kubebwa na gari, hamwezi bebwa na gari na marketing team waachwe. Unabaki wamekuja wamekapaka sasa kungoja. They shouldn't have waited until now. Kazi yao ilikuwa kuja kupeana reports na watu, but they had to wait until watumie staff van. Alasa sisi wenye tumeshinda tukifanya kazi huku tunaambiwa tusitumie because tunaishi hapa karibu. And so one time tumekaa mimi na Elsia katutoa kwa gari. So as you're walking away, I remember, I don't know what I said. And then as I'm walking away, the HR is like, wewe. And I was like, I'm not going to answer to that. So I continue walking. Then the next day he calls me. Akakuja kunitoa production. Kaniambia jana nilikuita ukakataa. Nikamwambia uliniita jana? Yes, jana after nimewambia mtembee kwa sababu tu gari imejaa. Nikamwambia, did you call me Mildred? You are the HR, you should know my name. Did you call me Mildred or my second name or my third name? Did you call me any of those names? He was flabbergasted because I think he was just always shocked with my audacity. He was looking at me like I was crazy or something. I mean, no, if you didn't call me any of my government names and you are my HR, then I don't know why we're doing this right now. Because mbono umenita ati ulinita jana na nikakata. If you used my name, I would have looked back. But if you didn't use my name, then I don't know who you are calling. So he let it go and went away. But now, hiyo ilikuwa siku nyingine. But this day, particular day, after this marketing girl, so I go and call my grandmother, talk to her, tell her I'm quitting. But she tells me, talk to the people who hired you. That HR did not hire you. That HR was not there. The boss now, the man who hired me, he was around. So I was like, okay, I'll go call my office and I'll ask for an appointment. After lunch, I'm going to see him. So I go at lunchtime because there was a secretary. I go and like, is the boss still around? Yes. Can I please talk to him? The HR, because office yake pia iko juu, but on the other side, he sees me on this other side. And I think he's like, oh my God, what's happening? So I talked to the secretary and I'm like, I'm going to have lunch, but after lunch, I want to talk to the boss. Could you please tell me when he's free? Because I really need to talk to him. I think I'm going to quit, but I need to do the right thing to talk to him because in alinipea kazi. He knows me. I've worked for him. He knows my work is good. So I can't just leave without telling him. So if I'm quitting, I'm not giving that HR the pleasure of quitting to him. So I'll quit kwa ule mtu mwenye alinipea kazi. The secretary is like, okay, sawa. So I go back downstairs. Actually, I stayed with the secretary for a while. Then I go downstairs. Alafu, naona amekuja hapo. There was a bridge sort of between Sas's offices side yake and this ya wadosi. Akagonga. And then he calls me. I go to his office and he's like, so ulukumenda? Kambia kuongea na mtu alinipea kazi. I'm going to quit. But si quit na wewe. Juu kunipea kazi. You have never interviewed me. You don't know me. All you have done since you've come to this company is harass me. So I'm not going to quit na wewe. Mtu alinipea kazi ndo nena naongea na yeye, niache kazi na yeye. Because he knows my job. He knows my work. Siku hapa Ruiru. Kuna watu wamefutwa by there. Because kuna watu walikuwa wamefutwa when we were moving from, Westlands to Ruiru. There are people who had been fired. I was kept on. I sat down with the boss and I spoke to him and he told me, you've been doing such a good work, continue doing that. Alafu nakuja kwanza kuharasiwa juu msichana amekasirika sikumsalimia. Juu anataka nikamjotee maji while I'm cooking, while I'm doing my job. Like seriously. I went off on that man that day. I was like, no. I'm tired of you and your marketing girls. Kila saa must stress. You are stressing me to the point of me thinking of quitting. I never had these issues. I've worked with all these other people uko kwingine for over a year. Never one single issue. Lakini wewe nimekuja hapa kila wiki I'm being called to your office. What is that? So he was like, acha hizo. Okay, tutafanya ni tuamue tu you stop working where people are. That's an insult. But also, because I'm an introvert, I didn't care. Akaniambia, okay, we'll just remove you from the staff kitchen. Kazi yako ibaki to production peke yake. One, that was good because pia staff kitchen ilikuwa na issues like kupika hiyo chakula ya watu wote, it was too much. But being in production was good. But my heart was still aching because I had left pastry. And that was my love. Like, I loved pastry. But then I was like, production is better than nothing. So I went back to production. He stopped harassing me. And until sa hiyo siku ya kutusumbua akitutoa kwa gari cha mademo marketing. I don't know if that came before or after this situation ya me going off on him. But anyway, long story short, I never spoke to the boss. It didn't happen. He was just like, okay, I'm going to lay off of you. And yeah, ikaishia hapo. From that day, I never had another peep. Nobody ever complained about me. No issues were ever raised until time ya evaluation ikafika. So this man was evaluating people and evaluated. Then he calls me one day and then he sits me and he's like, okay, so your evaluations are coming up. I'm like, I know. Actually, no. Before we get to the evaluations, so my grandmother gets sick. Okay, she didn't get sick. She was going in for an operation, a knee replacement surgery. And so while she went for that surgery, I used to go na staff van juu she was at Mpisha. So na people used to, gari ilikuwa inatoka huku Ruiru inaenda paka Westlands because ilikuwa inapeleka vitu zingine huko jioni. So ilikuwa ina travel every day inapitia huko. And then the drivers we were with, they were nice, they were kind. They would be like, okay, we'll drive you, drop you at Mpisha, alafu zi tuende paka Westlands. And we'll be like, okay, sawa sawa. So they used to drop me every day. And so after my grandmother's surgery, something goes wrong and she ends up in the ICU. And so the next day, I tried to wake up and go to work and I couldn't. I was so nervous. I felt like I was going to lose my grandma. I was in a bad place mentally. I couldn't go to work. So I wake up in the morning, I take a shower, I get dressed, and I just can't leave the house. I just want to know, I just want to get a phone call and be told that my grandmother is fine. So I call that HR because if you weren't going to go to work in the morning, you had to call and say and tell them why. Napigia the HR, he's not responding. Namakio ini simu ya job, which he has and he has to have in the morning because of such calls. I call him, he refuses to answer. I call him again, he refuses to answer. I call the driver because I knew that he used to sit at the front na driver. I call the driver, he was a friend, and he answers and he's like, yeah, yuko hapa. I'm like, can you give him the phone and talk to him? And he says, na namsikia, sitaki kuongea na mtu mimi. Mimi mtu asinipigie simu hata kuniambia nini. Sitaki kumsikiza. And I'm like, okay. So I tell the driver, mwambie, my grandmother is in the ICU, so I can't come to work today. Simi nikakaa nyumbani hiyo siku, then I went to see my grandmother later that day. The next day, my grandmother was out of danger, so I went to work. Kufika hivi, the man comes and calls me out of production. Ananiambia, why didn't you come to work yesterday? I tell him, you know why? You didn't call. I'm like, I called you several times. There are missed calls. And I can even show you from my phone the number of times that I tried to call you. And he says, no. Then when I didn't answer the phone, why didn't you text? You were in the car when I called you, you refused to answer. I called the driver to give you the phone, you refused. And I heard you say you don't want to talk to me. So what did you expect me to do? And he tells me, you should have written a message to say that you weren't coming to work. And I'm like, okay, I didn't do that. So what next? He tells me that I should write him an apology letter. Okay. He tells me that I should write him an apology letter for not coming to work. Niliangalia mwanaume nikabaki, what's wrong with this guy? So anyway, barua yenye alikuwa na expect he didn't get, because mi nilienda nikamwandikia barua nikaandika, I'm sorry for not texting you after I called and you refused to answer. Sincerely, Gungu Mildred. Signed it. Nikampelekea. Na nikarudi nikaendelea kazi. alikuja kama amekasirika because when I went to his office to give it to him, alinipointia meza, ieke hapo. And I put it there. Haikuwa ati words mingi. Mi nalika tu like an official letterhead, blah, 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 blah. And then those 2 lines, na nika sign off, na nikampelekea. Because what was I apologizing for? Akarudi tena amegonga dirisha ya production. Wewe, toka nje. And I go in, he's like, hii ni nini? I'm like, what do you mean? You barua gani umeandika hiyo? You ni madhara gani? Hey, I don't know what you expected me to write. That's what happened, no? Like, what do you expect me to say? I called, you refused to answer. I called the driver, you refused to talk to me. And now you're telling me to write an apology letter because of that incident. My grandmother was in the ICU. Like, I don't know how you want me to explain that situation. He gets upset and he's like, yo, barua sitairarua. I'm going to put it in your file. And I'm like, yeah. Because in my mind, I'm like, when utaka stupid, see me, but it's okay, put it. I was like, ni sawa, it's fine. Whatever you decide, it's fine. I don't care. He left, he was upset. Like, yo mwanaume alikuwa aniangalia nasikia kuninyonga or something. I don't know. But yo, ile toxicity that man had towards me. Again, I don't know. Ni mimi kuwa Mluya because he was also Kikuyu. Ama ni mimi kuwa mwanamke. I don't get it. Because why? Why was he harassing me like this? Something that had never happened to me before. Anyway, so fast forward to the evaluation day. He calls me and he's like, so you know evaluations are coming up? I'm like, yeah. And he says, so vile umekuwa stubborn the whole year. Vile umesumbua tangu kuje hapa kila time wako ofisi yangu nini. Nikaambia kwa ofisi yako nimekuwa nikikuja juu ya nini? Was it work related? He keeps quiet. Watu wakisema siwasalimii, was that part of my job? Is that in my contract? Has anybody complained about my actual work, like the job that brought me here? The contract that I signed saying that I'm supposed to be working. The people that I work with that I'm supposed to be showing team player or whatever, to be a team player and stuff with them. Are they complaining about my attitude? Are they complaining about anything? You're not the one who's supposed to be evaluating me as the HR. The person who's supposed to be evaluating me is the production manager. He's the one who is seeing my job. He's the one who's seeing my work. So you're evaluating me according to my work, not on my social skills, unless they're really bad that it's affecting my job. But you always know what to say. You always know how to twist a situation. Nikamwambia, no. You want to come and threaten me about evaluating me badly because mademu wa marketing walisema sikuwachotea maji, because walitaka niache kazi yangu nikatafutie mop, because walitaka niwasalimie kila saa nikiwaona na smile. Do you think this is the first time people have complained about me not smiling? Like, seriously, kama my job has been bad, then that one, give me a bad evaluation. But if it's because of these ladies, then that's on you and that's on them. Either way, do what you must. You can party bad evaluation, sitaitwa kwa ofisi, and I'll go and explain myself. And then we'll see what happens. Long story short, my production manager evaluated me. It was okay. It was perfect. And then he got into trouble because now somebody else reported him. Because what ended up happening is that tulianza kuambiwa tuandike mabarua of our interactions with him. And if he ever made us feel uncomfortable. Hey, sema Mildred kuchukua opportunity. Because he had harassed me every single week since he came to that company. Ule mwingine alikuwa shafutwa. So huyu ndo alikuwa amebaki. He got fired. And I was happy. Like, I remember seeing him akitoka. I was super, super happy. Sijai furahia kuona mtu akifutwa kazi apart from those 2 people. That pastry manager or supervisor or whatever, and now this HR. Because alifutwa. Because women complained. Kumbe iko mimi peke yangu. Maybe mimi ilikuwa ya kuniharasi ya kunitaka ofisi kila siku, but others, I think there was some sexual harassment or something. But yeah, anyway, he was fired. Alafu, because kama is always the B word, yeah? A few months later, ameshaenda, kampuni imerudi kuwa sawa, mimi I'm working, I'm okay, I'm happy, nikuwa too busy, but I'm settled, nobody's sending me to the HR all the time, nobody's harassing me and everything. tulikuwa tumeenda Paradise Lost, like my friends and I walikuwa tunafanya nayo kazi. So tuko kwa gari jioni usiku tunarudi, tumepanda huko Kiambu Road. Ako kwa hiyo gari. And then we go, hey, Chari ndo yuko kwa gari. And then tukaanza tu kumuenjoy hapo ndani. He felt embarrassed, but I was so happy. Like, God has always found ways to fight for me sometimes. Because these people, Anyway, the other manager, whose name rhymes with beach, also got fired. So, yeah. And when I say beach, I mean the BEACH. Siwe ingine. So, his name rhymes with that. Yeah. So, pia alikuwa fired. And zile vitu kwa wanaume watatu walinipitishia kwa hiyo kampuni. It was one of the most toxic situations I've ever been in a work environment. But they all got fired. I stayed on until I left by myself. Because hata nikitoka, they wanted to keep me and they fired the people that I was working with. Because, as I said, tulikuwa tumefika ile place unalipo 4,000, mkaekae tena mlipo ingine. And I was like, no. I'm done. So anyway, I thought that this story was going to be short. Now, what? I'm almost clocking 1 hour. So yeah, that has been too long. I don't know. But yeah, so that's what happened. That was one of the most toxic places I ever worked at. Okay, not the place itself, but those people. Those were the most toxic people I've ever had to work with. And I'm glad that they got fired and I left on my own. But yeah, that was life. It happened and you learn from it and you move on. So I don't know about you, but you could tell me in the comments or on my Instagram, DM me at Mimi's Musings Podcast on Instagram. Tell me if you've ever worked with such people, if you've ever interacted with such people. It doesn't have to be like at work, it can also be at school. So tell me in the comments down below, or you can DM me on Instagram or comment, because I usually put like a clip of the episode on Instagram, so you can also comment there. And yeah, we can discuss about it and we see how to deal with such people and just how life goes. So yeah, share with me. Remember to also, while you're doing that, remember to like, share and subscribe. Please nimesema hata 500 ni mbali, tufikishe tu hata 100 subscription, hata 50, tuko bado 20, hata 50. Please consider subscribing. I know some people just wanaangalianga tu ama wanajua nimepost kitu and they just don't care, but please, if you can, I'm trying to make a living here. It will take a long time, but if you could help me just by subscribing, because that's how I get to the point where I get monetized. So subscribe and please watch. I told you can even just put it on while you're doing your chores, while you're taking a shower, while you're jogging, while you're doing other exercises. So please consider subscribing and always endeavor to come and listen whenever I put up a new post. Okay, bye now. Love you.